Good morning. Good morning. When, how tall is this?
Put it down for you.
Thank you. When Jim was giving the little introduction there, I was thinking, I had in my head, like, basketball music when they're coming through the thing, and they're like, kind of was going through my head just then, so sorry about that. I'm going to move this because I'll get confused really easily. Good morning. I wanted to give a little bit of an update with how the team in Mexico is doing. They took down 13 youth and adults and to San Quintin, Mexico. And I know that Tyson has shared this, but back in the day when we were youth pastors, he took teams for like 10 or 11 years, always over my birthday, and this year is no different. It's over my birthday again. So I've spent lots of birthdays without my husband, about half actually, and well, not of my whole birthdays, but you understand what I'm saying, of the times when we're together. Yes. So they are doing great. I asked Tyson this morning, is there anything special you want me to say? And he said, not necessarily, just that we are here safe. Today they start ministry in San Quintin, and their drives every day have been hours longer than they anticipated. But he said everybody is just doing well with that, as well as you can with sitting in the van for 3-4 hours longer than you thought, which was already a full day anyway. So, bless you. So everybody's in good spirits. Everyone has been safe. The vans have been in good working order. They went down to Sacramento, stayed a night, then went down to San Diego, stayed a night, and had a big, with all of the teams from this organization that go down into Mexico, they do it during the same week. And so they had a big celebration service, whatever night that was. And before yesterday, they went from San Diego down to San Quintin, and that, of course, took forever. I think that they might need somebody that's not only organized, but bossy on their team, is what I've deduced from this. So maybe a little bit someone like me, except for I don't want to go, but somebody who can say, seriously, we are leaving at 7:30. And if you didn't get the stuff at the store yesterday, so sorry, we're not doing it today. But so things have been kind of jammed up because of leeway, and my husband is a softie. So it's really good to be with you all here today. I was asking Tyson yesterday or the day before, okay, so because I know he goes by an amount of words, and that's how he gauges how long it's going to take to speak his talk, to preach his message, however you want to say it. So I sort of went by that a little bit so that I could stay in time, because when you're not used to being up front talking every week, then you have no idea how this equates to how long, because I could read through this in about 3 minutes, so we could get out here really early. But it's the right amount of words. But it's the right amount of words. So I appreciate all of your support and all of your prayers for the team in Mexico and for everyone here at church who's trying to hold the ship up while several of them are gone. So, and I know Tyson and Pastor Schuyler do as well. This is Pastor Schuyler's first time out of the country. I actually was just at a memorial Friday night and was talking to his mom. It was Schuyler's family, and that we actually know from a million years ago. And I was talking to Schuyler's mom, and his mom said, "Have you heard from them?" And I said, "Oh yeah, Schuyler's texted me and blah, blah, blah." And I saw this look on her face like, "Oh, because I haven't heard from him at all." So I texted Schuyler and I said, "Please text your mother. I know you're 28 years old, but text your mom. She needs to know you're okay." Really happy to be here with you all this morning. And we are going to talk about fear and love today. And this is something that's, when Tyson asked if I wanted to speak, I was kind of mulling over what is something that I am kind of passionate about and can talk about for 30 minutes. That doesn't take a lot. But this is what kind of kept coming up. So we're going to talk about that. So first is, I have all of my Bible verses on my pages, so I'm going to try to give everybody time. I do have everything on the screen as well, but Matthew 6, verse 34, I don't know if it's up there. You can follow along, Joey, you're good. Give your entire attention to what God is doing right now, and don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Isn't that the truth? And don't we sometimes get a little caught up in the worry of what tomorrow will bring, and planning, and getting ready for it, and all of the what if questions, and what if the bad things all happen all at once. So today we're going to talk about living in fear and worry and getting on the other side of that. The thing that I found interesting, I Googled this because I like Google. The phrases fear or have no fear or don't be afraid, fear not, not fear, but fear not, are found at least 115 times in the Bible. So I was thinking, man, you know what? That's actually really good news, because it means that we are all in good company. It's been through the ages, obviously, that humankind has been dealing with worry and fear, and how do we deal with that, and putting the cart before the horse and all of that, not knowing what tomorrow will bring. So we know that we're not alone, and I found that actually very comforting. So let's do this. You look like a little bit of a responsive crowd this morning, so let's name some fears. I have a backup if nobody wants to name anything, but I thought it would be fun. Let's name some fears that someone you know deals with. Failure. Claustrophobia, judgment, mice, lice, ice, heights. I was just messing with you. I knew you said heights. Finances, not enough money. Yes, you can be afraid of most of the lashes because we don't wear shoes sometimes. So my feet get really sweaty, so I have really cute shoes, though, but I'm just not wearing them. You can see them later. Anything else? Mm-hmm.
Retirement.
Yes. Retirement? Change. Very good. So you named a lot of the ones that I had down. New situations, sometimes. The dark, especially when I was a kid, man, we lived in this creaky old house, and upstairs was my parents' room, but it was sort of like attic-y up there, and you had to go through the kitchen, like into the laundry room to climb up, to go to the stairs to get to the upstairs, and so you had to go away from where all of the family was, and go up the creaky stairs to get to my parents' room, and it was like the worst thing when my mom would say, hey, go up to my room and get my whatever it was, to have to go by myself up there, because that's where all of the creaky noises happen, is from upstairs in that room. So I was also thinking getting hurt, whether it's physically or relationally, someone else getting hurt, like your children or your spouse or someone that you care very deeply about. Our kids not following God. What will people think of our kids? See, obviously you can hear some of my voice here. Being embarrassed, that's not one of mine, I don't care. Saying the wrong thing or giving the wrong answer. Sometimes you're like, I have like 18 fears in my head, but I'm not going to say any of them because what if it's the wrong thing, you know? Making a wrong decision, terrorists, spiders, snakes, and public speaking. So, can lump them all together. So the cool thing is our bodies are wired, like the systems in our bodies are wired that fear is actually a protection in us. So when we're walking along the edge of a cliff, fear is there so that we can step away from that and not get hurt, right? Or if you're walking down a dark alley and there is somebody walking a few feet behind you, fear is there, that heightened fear happens so that you will walk faster or turn around and give them kung fu or whatever, however, if you're a fight or flight person. And So it's there for a reason. Our fear, that sense of fear is there for a reason. But how many of you know and have experienced that have we can take that and we can just go gangbusters with our fear, and we can make it into things that it was never meant to be, and we can have all sorts of imaginations that go on in our head that take us to places that we don't need to go. And so, I was thinking a long time ago, about 20 years ago, and I had just one child then, 20 years ago. And I had a fear of having children in general. God got me over that. And so I just had Malia then, and I'm a little bit by nature controlling. I'm not so much easygoing. And I just knew that even as a baby, there was just worry there, some fear there that I wasn't going to do the right thing, that I wasn't going to be a good I was the type of mom who had to actually read books to learn how to be a mom, because I'm not necessarily super maternal. I had to learn how to be that. And so I knew I was spending some time with the Lord one day, and I could just feel I was praying for Malia, praying for Tyson and I as parents, all of that, and I could see and feel my fists were just clenched up, like I was going to hang on to that kid for dear life, that it was all dependent on me, like rise or fall, whether she found the right spouse or not, whether she made all the right decisions or not, whether she ate the right food or not, all of those, whether she slept through the night or not, whether, all of the things that plague us as parents from the time she's a baby until now she's about ready to turn 21, and you can still have those things. And I remember holding my fist so tight, and it was like hanging on to that, like I had control of it, and hanging on to that fear and worry and angst and what's going to happen and what am I going to do. And during that time, God just really working, and his Holy Spirit working on me and saying, it wasn't even like he said anything about Malia. It was just open up your hands. And just to that, and I was like, I ain't gonna open up my hands. I'm gonna let that thing go if I open up my hands, and then what will happen? What on earth will happen to that girl if I open up my hands and let that go? And that was a process, and still, I think I have 7 kids for a reason. I think maybe I haven't learned some things, and so I'm not as fast of a learner as I thought I was or something, but being able to, with each of those kids, with how different they are, opening my fists to open hands and letting that go, letting that fear and that worry go, and saying, I really have no control over this. I'm going to do what I know to do, and that's all I can do. And the rest is up to God and that kid and whatever. Because you know what? Tyson and I were talking about this the other day. We have 7 kids, right? So each one, I'm just going to keep reminding us all of this, apparently. So we have 7 kids, and each of them, you who know them, is so different from each other. There are similarities between, especially like Hannah and Zach or something like that, Jubilee and Malia, but they are like they look different, they act different, they respond different from each other, and it's the most interesting thing, because and excuse me, I'm just going to get a little blunt here. You take an egg from my body and a sperm from his body 7 different times, it's like the same DNA, you know what I'm saying? And each time, it's this whole other human. I grew each of those kids inside of me, and each time, it's this whole different human. It's the craziest, most amazing thing. And so when I had my second child, and if you know Hannah, I had my second, and Tyson and I are both firstborns, and Malia's a firstborn, and we do all the firstborny things, right? And that you're supposed to do, because that's what firstborns do. And then we had Hannah, and she is not a firstborn, that girl, and she still isn't. She doesn't even try to be a firstborn. We tried to raise her to be a firstborn until finally I said, well, I got to give up. That girl is not going to do this at all. And giving that up to God and saying, you know what, that girl is going to pave her own path with you by her side, and I'm going to do the best I can to be the mom to Hannah, not to the mom to all of the Lash kids. And on it went, of course, because each of them has had their own journey, we will say. So I read a quote yesterday that said, "Don't let your fear of what could happen make nothing happen." Amen. Do you ever get caught in that place where you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if we're going to have the money for it. I don't know if I'll be any good at it. All of those things. So don't let the fear of what could happen make nothing happen. It paralyzes you, right? You get caught in that worry or fear, and then you get paralyzed, and then sometimes nothing can happen. And that can be just as bad of a place as if you did fail. A lot worse of a place as if you did fail. I'm not a person who's super scared of failure, because I feel like I don't think that failure is the opposite of success. So I feel like, well, if I'm doing what I think that I'm supposed to be doing, and I have to tell my sweet husband this, he's shared it before, that did you do what you knew you were supposed to do? Because what else, even if you don't have the results that you have, it's still taking you somewhere. It's still part of your journey and your story. So here, I'm going to talk about two different worries/fears, even though I already talked about Malia, that I deal with. One is a little more graphic than the other. So hold on to your seats, folks. So I have and have dealt with it in years ago more, but it's I don't know how else to call it. I don't know that it's ever been diagnosed or anything, but it's definitely anxiety. And so you can have anxiety disorders and deal with anxiety and all of that, yeah? So you all thought I had it all together, didn't you? So, but here's what it is. It's the dumbest thing. If I'm in a car stuck in traffic, I have to go to the bathroom right now. I feel like this panicky, and my body is feeling it as well. It's going to happen. If we do not pull this car over, it's going to happen in the car. So you can just use all your imaginations for that part of it. So it hasn't always been a thing. I've recently been working on pinpointing it, and I think that I have it now. Remember that year? It was like 8 years ago or something, because it was when I was pregnant with Jubilee, and we had the horrible winter where there was ice and snow and freeways shut down and all of that. Well, I was coming from Lake Tapps home when it started and when it happened. And so I was like, I'm not going to get home. I don't even know. Because also, if you know me, snow and ice, I'll just stay in my house. Thank you very much. I don't see any fun in any of that. First off, I'm cold. Second off, it's dangerous to drive in. So anyways, I think that may have been why, but that doesn't have anything to do with the story. So anyways, it got so bad that we would be leaving for swim lessons from my house, and I live by the library in Uptown and all that, to go to the YMCA for swim lessons. So Gig Harbor North, which is so far. And I'm like, Tyson, you've got to hurry up and get there. So, how many minutes is that? Like 10 minutes or something like that to get from my house to the YMCA? And we're going on the freeway and all that. And if anything would slow us down, then it's like this panicky thing with me. So thankfully, that is not the case anymore. And I took all sorts of public transportation when I was in the UK, and did great the whole time. So I feel like I'm working on getting on the other side of this, and that's really good. So, but the second one, I'm just going to tell the bad parts first, so just so you know. The second one, a lot of years ago, I dealt with a lot of fear because I had a lot of questions and doubts about God and the church, and I'm a pastor's wife. And many of you know this part of my story, but so I didn't grow up in church. I chose God when I was a teenager, very intellectually chose God, and chose church and being a Christian and all of that when I was a teenager, because it's what made sense to me, not because of some spiritual experience that happened or something like that, because God knows how to get a hold of me and he knows how to get a hold of you. So there we go. So I went to churches that had very certain answers for everything. So this is part of being a Christian, is you have answers for everything. You know what you should and shouldn't do all of the time, and how God feels about you all the time, and all of that stuff, very black and white. And the Bible says that I believe it, that settles it type of thing, which is not very good for a personality like mine because I'm a challenger and a questioner by nature. It's just who I am. And I hate this phrase, but I play the devil's advocate a lot. And even if I don't believe what I'm arguing, I want you to convince me of what you believe. And that's part of the process of it. And I'm a line pusher. So, anyway, but when I commit to something, I commit to something. So this was a big struggle for me when I started saying, oh, I don't think that all Christians are actually like what's in my church. I feel like other Christians can be Christians too and believe a little bit different, and that's okay. And when we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be, that type of thing. So that was a really hard thing for me, and I equated that to God, and me and God got through that. God and I got through that really quick. My relationship with God was strong enough, I guess. And he worked with me really fast in the whole thing, and that part didn't shake me up so much. It was my relationship with the church that was really hard. And so I have my sweet husband who believes everything, and I have staff, and I have youth kids, and all of this. And here I am making my way to the back row and just going, I'm just going to hang on until Jesus comes. I don't know what else to do because I didn't feel like I was connected to the church. And that was really a scary time for me. And so, now that's the bad part. The good part will be coming. I was listening to this author one time. She was being interviewed, and she was talking about fear. And she said that, kind of what we talked about before, fear is great. And when you need it, you have it, and it's there. But sometimes you have to tell your fear to just take a back seat, because as much as you appreciate it for the times that it's necessary, right now it's not necessary. When fear of finances, or you're worried about what tomorrow will bring type of stuff, all of those things that we listed and things that sometimes are irrational, that we can tell fear, just take a back. I appreciate you, thank you. Take a back seat. We don't have to say we should never have fear, because sometimes we should have fear. So because our bodies need to respond in a certain way. But I really liked that, and that really resonated with me, the whole, I'm just going to thank you, but no thank you, that type of thing. And to not be paralyzed by that. So it's two things that have helped me in dealing with all of this. So remember Matthew 6:34, in the end it says, God will help you deal with whatever hard things come up when the time comes. Oh my word, is that not a comfort? So of course, he did that for me, and I know you all have testimonies of how he has done that for you as well. So this is how he did it for me, though, because God works with all of us in different ways. Sometimes he's like, just knock it off for some people. But this is how he worked with me. So first, what's the worst thing that could happen? Many times when I'm worried or fearful about something, I can pinpoint what the worst thing that could happen, and sometimes it's a really devastating thing, but I'm like, and people have gotten through that, so I'm going to be okay. That type of thing. It's a game I play with myself. So when I do fear, and then I get through it, you get on the other side of it, you get to tomorrow, what were the results? So I remind myself of all of the times that God came through, all of the times it turned out okay, or all the times it didn't turn out okay, but I'm still okay. And I answer my what if questions. So what if this, what if that? And so I just start answering those. Instead of just asking that question, I start answering it as well. So, and I also remind myself of whatever happens, I'm not going to mess up God's plan for the universe. My little wrong decision to buy the wrong house, or change a job or something like that, though it's a big decision for me and my family and all of that, it's because sometimes, I don't know how y'all grew up, but I grew up in a church that it was like, God has a very specific, perfect plan for your life, and if you veer off of that, you're messing up God's plan, and that brings a lot of fear every time you have to make a decision. And so finally, it was like, God got a hold of me with that, and it was like, you know what? If you buy the wrong house, it's all right. Somebody else is going to find that house, the perfect house for them, and I'm not going to I always say it this way, you're not going to mess up the cosmos by making a wrong decision when it comes to things like that. Things are going to be right. God is still in control. You're still going to be in right relationship with him, just so you know that you're doing what you know to do to live in the way that he wants you to live. So that's really good. All of those skills that God has taught me along the way between me and him and all of that. But equally as helpful is including other people in my life. And I don't want to say also as helpful. It's really equally as helpful is involving other people in my life. So now you may say, okay, Amy, that's enough. But I'm not a big believer in all I need is Jesus. I really believe that we need Jesus and we need a whole bunch of people around us, or some really close people around us. We need our church, we need our life groups, we need our family, whoever those people are in our lives. That is what God created. He created us to be relational and to give and to take within our relationships. And so I think that there may be times in our lives when right now all I have is Jesus, but I don't know that it's healthy to say all I need is Jesus, because we need those other people in our lives. We need people sometimes to lift up our arms when we can't lift up our arms and carry us through things. And the other thing is those other people need us as well. They need what we have to give. So that was a lot more words than that tiny paragraph, by the way. His word is full of relationships, and we need both a dependence on our Creator and an interdependence with other people. So 1 John 4, verses 17 through, looks like 21. Let's read. I'm going to read that. Good, I just have that up there. Good. God is love. When we take up permanent residence in a life of love, we live in God, and God lives in us. This way, God has the run of the house. Now, sorry, Pastor Jim. I'm reading out of the Message right now because sometimes you've heard these verses so many times, and if you hear it just a tiny different way, then it like enlightens things for you. So it's pretty much the same message. If you need to do a word study, don't choose the Message version, please. Okay, this way, love has the run of the house, becomes at home, and matures in us, so that we're free of worry on Judgment Day, and our standing in the world is identical with Christ's. I like that phrase. There is no room in love for fear. Well-formed love banishes fear. And we know that perfect love casts out all fear. So well-formed love banishes fear. Since fear is crippling, a fearful life, fear of death, fear of judgment, is one not yet fully formed in love. We, though, are going to love. We are going to love and be loved. First we were loved, but now we love, because he loved us first. If anyone boasts, I love God, and goes right on hating his brother or sister, thinking nothing of it, he is a liar. Wow. And if he won't love that person he can see, how can he love a God that he cannot see? The command we have from Christ is blunt. Loving God includes loving people. You've got to do both. So, love is the solution, yes? His love for us that teaches us to love him and ourselves and others. So, you might be thinking, oh, really? How is love going to help me with my anxiety towards being stuck in traffic? How is love going to help that? So, it seems far-fetched, but keep tracking with me. So, anybody in here ever do geometry? Yep. So, you had some like if-then statements. If whatever about a triangle, then some other stuff happens, right? And then you can take that and put it over in an if thing and make it to a then thing. I'm saying it in layman's terms, okay? So you got me there? If you believe with me this, that Jesus is God. Yeah, that's a pretty good one, yeah. Jesus is God, yes. And God is love. The Bible says that God is love, so I'm not even going to take a no on that one. Jesus is God and God is love. So then we can say that Jesus is love. Yes, we're just going to make that parallel there. So if Jesus is love, and remember in 1 John 4:17, it said, our standing in the world is identical to Christ, then we are love. Then I am an embodiment of love, yes? So let's read 1 Corinthians 13. Now, you thought you were going to get a break from 1 Corinthians, didn't you? But Tyson was just going to skip right over the love part, because he talked about the clanging gongs and all of that, and crashing cymbals. But he was going to skip over this love part, and I'm like, that's like the best part of all of 1 Corinthians, so I'm not going to skip over it. Maybe God just wanted him to leave that for me. So, next page. It says, if I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Jesus, help us. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things and believes all things and hopes all things and endures all things. Love never ends. So using our imperfect math formula there, we can replace love for Jesus because Jesus is love, right? We could say Jesus is patient and Jesus is kind. He's not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. You're tracking with me here, yeah? So, but if I am also love, if what God has put in me is containing of love, I can put my name in there as well. And that is the thing. If you read through that with your own name in there, it does something to you. I mean, we can read through that and say it's so pretty for weddings, and we hope that our love, this mystical thing out there between Tyson and I, will be patient and kind and all of that. But if I say that Amy is patient and Amy is kind and she is not boastful and she does not rejoice in wrongdoing, and that, then it becomes very personal. It's not just this mystical love with the heart, how do they? Thing they do. I have teenage girls. So let's go through. Yes, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Joy. Yeah. We're going to read this together, and I didn't put my name in there because then it gets confusing when we're all saying it together. But I did. Hopefully all of my subjects and verbs match because I had to change them to have it make sense for us personally. So let's read through this together. I am patient. I am kind. I am not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. I do not insist on my own way. I am not irritable or resentful. I do not rejoice in wrongdoing, but I rejoice in the truth. Got that one wrong. I bear all things. I believe all things. I hope all things. I endure all things. Love never ends. Isn't that good? There's some things that you're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good with that. And then other things where you're like, get that knife out of my heart. So, and it's probably different for all of us there. So, if I am in love and I walk with someone through their fear, I will help drive out that fear. So if love drives out all fear, and I am love and I'm walking with you, I can help drive that fear out. So that's where the relational part comes in. So imagine being a kid and going down into a dark basement because mom needed something, or in my case, going up to that creepy attic-y bedroom upstairs that makes all the creaky noises at night, and the light is out, and you know that there are spider webs, and you don't know what else is around those corners. It's difficult to face our fears alone, and that is why we need each other. The power of God's love expressed through those around us can drive out fear. Our love for one another allows us to face our fears together. Now, think about going into that attic or that basement with somebody else holding your hand. That is what walking through fear in love together is like. So together you can face those fears of the unknown with a bit more courage and a bit more confidence. So, for the love of all of Tyson, who you all know how much I adore that man, when I was, and still sometimes do, the thing in the car, we're going back to that now. We're going to talk about it again. So he got a little bit impatient sometimes, and because you're on a road trip and Amy has to stop to go to the bathroom 5 times, and it's more than the children combined, and I have 7. And he's like, are you kidding me? Can you not wait until whatever? And I'm like, well, I can, but we're not going to want to deal with that. So he would have, and he'd sometimes roll his eyes and just be a tiny bit impatient with that, yeah? You all can relate, right? I mean, there's... So there was this, I don't know, and it happened, I don't know, just within this last year, there's been this switch in him, and things happen like, hey, would it be better if you drove? He would ask me, would it be better if you drove? Because sometimes I drive, it's not like he always drives or anything like that, but sometimes it helps me if I am driving. And sometimes he, like, when I say, yeah, I need to go to the bathroom, and he'd be like, all right, let's get to the next exit. So his, like, whole attitude toward it shifted, but guess what that did in me? It made it so that I didn't have to hide that anymore and be, like, almost ashamed of it and nervous that it was going to throw everybody off or make somebody upset or something like that. Having that freedom to be able to have that anxiety about it helped lift that anxiety, which is a crazy thing, and it seems not how it should work, but that's how it worked in me. And I deal with that much less. Like I said, I went to England and did buses and trains and airplanes all by myself and was actually pretty great through the whole thing. So, and I didn't drive any of them. So I did drive a car on the wrong side of the road with the steering wheel on the wrong side, and I did pretty good. I only messed up one time. So, and Malia freaked out. But the other one, remember the doubts and questions and worries about how the church would accept me and being a pastor's wife and asking questions and all of that. So I had said that God and I worked through that part really quickly. And he has loved and carried me through all of my questions. And guess what? If y'all have some doubts and questions about God or the church or anything else, spiders, I don't know, that he is going to walk through that with you and give you all the grace you need to be on the other side of that. And so a lot of things still are unanswered. It's not like this has all gotten solved or anything. And now, too, the best part is I've had people who are close to me that I can say, oh, yeah, well, what about this? And they're okay. It's not, I think that there's definitely people that I can't do that with because it shakes people up a little too much sometimes. But I have the people in my life now that we're close enough, that I feel safe enough, that I can do things like that, and we're still okay. And I can still be a pastor's wife, and I can still be a part of the church, and I can still love Jesus, and I can still have the questions. And so that lifted that worry and fear, brings me into a safe place. But I had to have the courage, first off, to say, it may not be safe, but I have to do it anyway. It may be a fear of mine or a worry of mine, but I have to do it anyway. And that's a lot of times where we come from. We have to take that step, yeah? Where we say, I know we don't have any money, but we have to do this. And so we take that step to see if what's on the other side of that. And I'm not going to say, and it always works out, because you know what? Sometimes you end up with no money. But then, guess what? You're all still here. And that's the great thing. And so it's a huge gift when we can give each other the freedom to ask questions and work through them, to not be threatened by them. And I wish I had had that earlier on. I wish that I felt courageous enough, or that it was an invitation from people, from maybe leadership or something like that, to say, if you have any questions, let's work through those hard things. So I'm here to say, if you have any questions, let's work through those hard things. And a great place for that is in your life group. A great place for that is to get with some people who you may be a trial and error. It may be that you try and you fail, right? And it fails and it doesn't work, but keep trying to find those people. That's a little side note there. So as we are part of each other's lives, we can practice all of those love things from 1 Corinthians 3. We can make our questions kind, and we can be patient to others. We don't have to give an answer and then walk away from a person. We can be patient and kind and long-suffering with them all. So I was at Friday night, I went up to Cedro Woolley. Raise your hand if you know where Cedro Woolley is, Washington. It's like past Mount Vernon, past Everett, all of that. On Friday, Memorial's at 7 on Friday, and I'm driving up there. That was a great time, I thought, to pick. Our pastor from Centralia, his wife, her and I are still very close, Becca, it was her mom that had passed away, and 3 months ago, her baby sister passed away. So many of you remember Gary Cox, who came and led worship for us years ago. It was his wife that passed away. And so now their mother, she died of cancer a few months ago. And so I was like, I'm going to be there for Becca, even though I have to drive through stupid Seattle. in the middle of rush hour. We're just going to do this. And so her memorial was pretty great because they had 5 kids, and then I think they have something like 26 grandchildren or some obnoxious number, but Skylar's one of them, and he comes from a family of 9, so you can see how this all works out. And a million great-grandchildren, I'm not sure. I think they're on actually number 16 great-grandchildren, and they're like all 30 and under. So her memorial was pretty great, just that legacy, and they all shared and stuff. But one of the things there was just this resonating thing with Grandma, that here's what she was known for. She was not necessarily a nurturer, but she was going to tell everyone she came across about Jesus. The boy helping her out with the groceries, the guy at the bank, whoever her neighbors were. She wanted to be put in a retirement home that was not Christian so that she could have the whole open field to be able. The woman carried a shofar around with her and actually blew it in public places. So she was very bold. She was very much known for her boldness and was a wonderful woman. But it got me to thinking, yeah, that's not going to be me necessarily. Not that, and I'm not saying anything's wrong. It's just not my personality by any means. But what do I want to be known for? And I was thinking, and it referred back to what we were talking about this morning. And I want to be known for my love and for my presence with people, so that when I'm with someone, that they feel like I am with them, that I'm not waiting to do something else, but that whatever they're going through, that I can help them just by being there to be through it and love them through it. And so let us answer fear and worry and doubt with our love. So we're going to get out our next steps now. And we're going to have, I'm going to pray. This isn't something that just this morning that I felt like doing. So also, I made these next steps on Tuesday, because that way Tyson said we could have next steps today before he left. And then I actually prepared what I was speaking about. And so some of them aren't really necessarily probably the hard points that I made today, but they're still pretty good. So meditate on Matthew 6:25 through 34, about not worrying about all the stuff. The second one is speak your worry or doubt and ask for accountability. Ask for people around you to carry you through those times. And then on the other end, give the gift of compassion to yourself or someone you know that is struggling with doubt. And that, I would rather that said struggles with worry or fear or doubt too. But give your gift, give your love to someone else who is going through that. And I just felt in my spirit this morning that some of us really are dealing with worry and fear, and some of us doubt. And I was thinking, let's just everyone stand, and I'm not a big come to the altar person, so we're not going to do that, but I'm not against it at all, just so you know. I probably shouldn't have even said that. But everybody stand. I just don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. And if that's something for you, I was thinking of that, remember that image of me when I had Malia and she was a baby and I needed to let that go. If you can just hold your fists tight, and as we pray for freedom and for love, to just let go, speak those things out and let them go from your hands. Open up your fists as just a symbol of letting go and working on being on the journey of coming on the other side of that. So Father, I just thank you for today. I thank you that you are in control, that I'm not in control. And the people in this room are not in control. There are definitely decisions that we can make and ways that we can decide to act, things that we can decide to do, all sorts of things that we can decide to say. But ultimately, our lives are in your hands. And we trust you with that. And today, Lord, as we are gathered here with people who love you and who love each other, I just ask that as we let go of those fears and doubts and worries, that we can feel your presence, to know that they are in safe hands. Father, that you would give us skills and techniques to get through those things, maybe some of the things that I shared today that you've helped me with. And as importantly, that we would surround ourselves with people that we can speak truth to, and they can speak love to us. And Father, I also ask in this place that if there's people here who feel like maybe they've not done a great job at being present in other people's lives that have needed them, that you would remind us, and maybe we would even go through 1 Corinthians with our name inserted in there again and practice that journey of loving other people through all of the things, that we would be patient and kind, that we would work through things, that we would be love. Not just have love or see love or feel love, but that we would be love. That you would give us that grace with one another. And Father, I thank you so much for this gathering of people. I love your church. And I just pray that you would put that in all of us, a love for your church and for your people. God, we love you, and I just pray a blessing over everyone here today, that as they go out the doors, that they would live for you, and they would see your handiwork, they would see your creation as it is, and we would go forth in victory with you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.